Wow, have we got a show for you tonight? I don't know. It's probably no better than any of the other ones, but I'm wearing an Australian cowboy hat. All right. And I'm wearing my brand new Jaws shirt that I just bought because I couldn't resist the temptation. So it's quite the combination. Now, Randy Howell, our Canadian friend, has been bugging me saying, hey, if you get to 1883 backers on Wraith, you got to wear a cowboy hat. Well, this is the only cowboy hat I have. So here it is. It's Australian. It's authentic. I got this in Australia. Okay. So this is about as authentic an Australian cowboy hat as you could possibly have. I also had a duster. We got a duster. I got boots. For some reason, I still have the boots, but I don't have the duster anymore. I think Shelley at one point said, let's just sell these. We never wear them. And now I'm like, oh, I wish I had my duster. It's always the way, right? You have something like in storage for 20 years, you finally get rid of it. And then the next day you're like, wow, I wish I'd hung on to that. Well, anyway, here we are. It's Aaron Live. It's January 23rd and the dog is barking. So we know everything is ready to rock and roll. Let's see who's here, shall we? Past Master Dan was first in the door. And you know what you get for that? Nothing. But thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. Wiley Draws is here. Julie Pascal is here. Hey, Julie. Randy Howell, of course, the aforementioned Randy Howell is here. Race Dorman is here. Jeff Stout. Excuse me. Rodney Ulabari has joined us, which is good because we're gonna have a news update from Ace reporter Rodney Ulabari here shortly. So John Smith is in the house. Oh, wait a minute. Well, okay. Well, let me first of all say this. Shelley has COVID. She's out sick. She's crashed right now, asleep. So there'll be no showtime. I know it's a little disappointing, but let's face it. You guys are here for me, really, anyway, right? So anyway, we'll do our best to navigate these waters without Shelley, and but she is doing okay. You know, it's not like she's dying or anything, at least, you know, at this point. This is 7 or 8 days into it. Thank God I have avoided the COVID monster, as is my 90-year-old mother. So hopefully that will remain true. But yeah, Shelley is in recovery. So thank you for the well wishes to her. Of course, John is, leading the chant for Shelley. But John, here, I can't give you Shelley, but I can give you this. So let's just remember whose show this is. Jeff Stout, give me a howdy text. Howdy. Are you referring to me, Leg Kick? Somehow I think you are. Nothing like starting to show off with some violence. Ibex, thank you for joining us, and thank you. Ibex posted, he has a video up, a really nice review of the Garbage Man trade paperbacks, so if you get a chance, check him out. Daniel Russell's here. What's she say? Inside Side made in Mexico. Let's see. What does it say here? Made in Australia, baby. Right there. This is authentic. This cost me over $100. The problem with the hat is, okay, when I bought it, I had hair, number one. Number two, it was springtime in Australia, so it was warm. So, I could have been, a little bit swollen. So when I get it home and it's cold here, it's just a hair big, but not, not offensively big. So let's see. It's nice. That's a nice hat, Aaron. I was wondering if they made it for men as well. Wow. You know what they do make for men, though? They make this. So there you go, Leg Kick. Kevin Wolf. Hey, Aaron in chat. Thank you, Kevin, for joining us. Let's see here. Randy Howell, thank you for the $5 Canadian. I appreciate it very much. Looks good on you, Aaron, like you were born to ride. I've ridden a horse like once in my life, and it was very unsuccessful. Oh, not having the duster, he meant, yes. You know, the Wraith is wearing a duster, a duster that's sort of augmented for coolness, all spawned up, if you will. General Piggy sent me $4.99. Thank you, General. Indiana Lopresti or Crocodile Lopresti? Probably Crocodile Lopresti. The brim's a little big for Indiana. I don't have a knife, though. I've got some, knives in the kitchen, but not like Crocodile Dundee did. This is a knife. Halftime. Yet perfect timing, isn't it, Dan? Kansas City is, of course, playing Buffalo, so we know that the All-American male Graham Nolan is watching that game right now. Nice hat and prayers for Shelley. Thank you, OCB. We got some well wishes and prayers for Shelley, of course. Like I said, she would be watching, but she's snoozing. So, yeah, so I keep trying to tell her, just lay down, sleep, So hopefully she'll take my advice. I doubt it, though. She rarely does. General Piggy's got Shelley and his thoughts and prayers. Thank you so much for that. Akubra, God bless you. I don't know what that means. Matthew Lawrence is here. Thank you. He loves the hat. Thank you. Teddy Roosevelt hat? Maybe. Is the hat an Akubra? I don't have any freaking idea. This was bought in 1993 or 94 when Dale Keown and I first met in Australia. And I don't know. Does it say in here? Oh, it is. It's an Akubra Imperial quality. How about that? And according to Australia, I'm a size 61. That seems like really huge. I don't know. Is that centimeters? I don't know. Millimeters? I have no idea. Heidi sending out prayers for Shelley. Thank you so much. Yes, Matt. We got it figured out. Thank you so much. All right. Well, let's get this show on the road, shall we? My head isn't 61 inches. Better not be. Citizen Ronan, he has several Akubra fedoras. They're great hats. Well, there you go. Yeah, that's right. Randy says 1883 backers is a milestone, only $590 away from the Ace of Spades playing cards, which I highly recommend you talk your friends into backing the campaign so you can get that because it's super expensive and it'll really hit me in the wallet. But you guys it'll be to your benefit. So let's get that sucker to 120. All right, let's take a look at what we've got going on today. There is stuff going on. Even though we don't have Shelley here, there is still some stuff we need to take a look at. Now, I am inking page 43 right now of Wraith of God, so it's moving right along. Now, I did have to take yesterday off. Why? Because I was inking the cover to the Overstreet price guide. That's why, which I can't show you. But it's very vintage and very cool. I think you guys will really dig it. But anyway, so I was working on that yesterday and then back on Wraith today. So I'm inking page 43. So we are moving right along on that. But here's the interesting thing about Wraith of God. The Wraith of God has transcended print media. Okay. And here's my latest update on what's going on with Wraith of God outside of my jurisdiction. This is a little short newsreel, if you will, brought to me by Ace, our undercover Ace reporter, Rodney Ulabari. So let's take a look at this right now and see what's up. And there it is. The Wraith is literally everywhere in pop culture. And so if you haven't backed it, my goodness, what are you waiting for? Even Beyonce's in on it. So thank you, Rodney Ulibarri, for keeping us updated on what's perusing the internet, all Wraith things perusing the internet. Hey, also, let's take a quick second here and send out this this quick little public service announcement. That's right. Like and subscribe to this channel. If you haven't, do it. Why? Because it's free. What have you got to lose? So anyway, yeah, the likes help. Subscriptions obviously help. So everything helps. So just be a participant, and I appreciate that. Okay. So, well, I don't think it is, Randy. Whoops. That's right. If you haven't backed it, you're a chucklehead. No one wants to be a chucklehead. No, I am much bigger than that dude, that ghost, that scrawny little ghost dressed as a wraith. I'm much bigger than that. Oh. Hey, thank you. It's as I said before on this very show that doing the price guide cover is like a bucket list thing for me, and I got to do some characters that I'm really quite fond of, and so yeah, all in all, it's a win-win. So I'm very excited. Benjamin Lee's dropping in from Bellevue, Washington. I told you I wasn't going to go to ECC in the winter. Now, thankfully, the weather was probably somewhat agreeable, but I just had visions of, snow and sleet and grossness. And I was just like pulling my stuff through the rain. And I was just like, I didn't want to do it. So anyway, I've kind of gotten out of that mode where I used to always was like, I could not miss a show, right? It's like, oh my gosh. Now it's like, I don't even care. Now I have to get motivated to go to a show. So after, COVID kind of did that to us, kind of like, we all got used to not going, and now it's kind of, I got to get used to going again. And I'm kind of like, so anyway, that's where I'm at. And plus I'm working like a dog. My goodness, I got stuff to do. Zaid Comics dropping in. That's Phil Diaz. Thank you, Phil. Look at that, Matt. I don't want to be a chucklehead, so I plan to back it now. There you go, Matthew. That's right. Peer pressure, baby. That's what it's all about. Rodney is so glad that he's documenting the effect of the Wraith in our world. And so am I, because it gives me content that I wouldn't normally have. Because you think I'm going to do all that looking around? No. Yeah, that's up to JC Vaughn. There's something going on this year that makes my cover have to be out this year, because I think he was looking at me for doing one next year. But then he was like, "Oh, can you have this done by the end of January?" And I'm like, "I got to color it too." So it won't be long before it's revealed, but I don't know the exact date. There you go. Paul's asking the same question. I don't think it's out until like summer, like July or August. But when they're actually going to reveal my cover, I don't know yet. Here's a breakdown of the ECC that I missed. I didn't snow, but it was cold in Seattle, and I got pitch dark by 4. It got pitch dark by 4 p.m. Since it was a 4-day show, I left the show at 2:30 p.m. when the expo hall closed at 6. That's the other thing. I don't know if I want to sit around at one of these big shows and wear a mask for like 8 to 10 hours. I just, ugh. So, I don't know. Well, Eric, actually, I'll be honest with you. I'm wearing the hat because of this. Disrespect. Hey, K Manifesto's in the house. Hey, K, I just finished up your pages. K Manifesto bought himself into Wraith of God and the original artwork that goes with it. So he's playing the circus owner, in the origin story. So he has a key role, maybe up for Best Supporting Actor. We'll have to see. My head is always cold. Are you happy that Rodgers and Brady have been eliminated from the NFL playoffs? Yes and no. You kind of like to because they're so stinking old. It's like you kind of want to see them get success, but at the same time, I'm also sick of them. Although Aaron Rodgers hasn't really, other than the one Super Bowl, he hasn't had a lot of playoff success. He's kind of Peyton Manning it in the playoffs. So but he doesn't seem like he's the friendliest guy either. So he's hard to root for. So I don't know. I figured the Rams were the better team, but they almost gave that game away by being stupid. So, I want to think. I think you want to thank all the little people, and you should. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I'm grossing everybody out. I'll stop talking football. Yeah, it does. I mean, that was kind of the intent. It was really sort of designed to be a tribute to Rights and Swamp Things. So I'm not one of these guys who says, I don't know what you're talking about. It was completely original out of my head. I mean, it was original. The concept was, but it was based on, the old monstrous superhero tropes that we all grew to know from basically from the 70s when all this stuff came up. So I wasn't reinventing the wheel. I was just polishing the wheel. Or putting tread on it, maybe would be a better way. I don't think you want to polish your wheels, do you? And be sliding all over the place. Brohawk is in the chat. Hello, David. David's got a big book coming out called Truth, Justice, and American Way that him and Gabe, LT Abe, are working on that promises to be really, really spectacular. As soon as David gets some artwork for that, we're going to bring him on and have just a big party. Okay, so moving right along here, keeping with the flow of the show, let's take a look at this because it's time to start eating.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Now, I've been promising that the diet's coming. The diet's coming. My dad used to famously say, I'm going on a diet right after the holidays. Of course, there was always another holiday coming up. But in truth, I am. Now, I know I'm going to take a raft of crap for this, but here we go. Are you ready? Yes, it's Seneca applesauce unsweetened. Now, this is not a dietary favorite. I don't know what is. And I have a huge spoon. Actually, I had my mom make applesauce cake for me, my 90-year-old mother. That's right. I chained her in the kitchen and made her make a cake for my birthday. And so I had her make applesauce cake. And so there's applesauce left over in the refrigerator. And I was like, you know what? This seems like a healthy alternative to candy. So we'll see. I will admit that when my kids were little and we'd feed them applesauce, it'd be like one bite for them, one bite for dad, one bite for them, one bite for dad. Yeah, I guess I am. I knew I'd take some crap for it. I don't have the pork chops, but we're making good with the applesauce. Oh my gosh. Look at that. Julie made cream puffs today with Bavarian cream filling and berries. Holy crap. That's the good stuff right there. You better not be comparing me to him because I still have some of my faculties left. I was waiting for this, Daniel. So I'd like to provide you with this. Don't disrespect your elders. See, there we go. It's okay. Everyone does love applesauce. We used to get it when we were kids in our lunches at school. It's like a dessert that's not really a dessert, right? Or something that tastes like a dessert but isn't really a dessert. What am I trying to say here? I don't know, but it's pretty good. And that's even unsweetened and it's still pretty good. So, yeah. Well, maybe I'll have some oatmeal tomorrow morning and I'll be all cleaned out. Applesauce is like gravy. You don't put applesauce on baked potato or mashed potatoes. I don't know what you're talking about, Benjamin. I really don't. All right. So here we are. And I think it's time now for our Wrightson image of the day. So watch your monitors closely. Not sure what happened there. Looks like I need to do some re-editing. I didn't put down the issue number of House of Mystery that was from because I would have had to look it up and I was too lazy to do it. But I'm pretty sure I have that. And there was one point in time where I had all the House of Mysteries that Wrightson did. I mean, I had everything Wrightson ever did. And then I got rid of all of it. Then I started buying it back in high grade. So I may or may not have that issue. My guess is Louis Brightraven probably knows what issue that's in. But anyway, those are cool things about House of Mystery. It was like you'd open that up and you have that great Wrightson, intro page, and then you go into the stories. And every once in a while you get a Wrightson story, but very rarely. It was mostly those intro pages. You're kind of like always leaving you wanting more. But I guess that's what they call good marketing, right? Now that's sad. He's ketoing it. So he doesn't even get applesauce. But the keto, that's the protein, the caveman diet, right? That actually works. If you can just stand eating cheese, eggs, and meat all the time, which I could do that for a while. And it only takes you, I think, 2 weeks to get off of sugar. So if you can go like 2 weeks without sugar, it kind of cures you of your craving for it, and that makes it easier. But it's those first 2 weeks killers. Yeah, I could get that. I should get that, but that just make me hungry. This sounds really like pilgrimish, but they're actually pretty good. Baked apples are too. There's a whole lot of variety you can have with an apple. There you go. Master of Boobs. Oh, I could be on Yellowstone. I could. And do you see the new Yellowstone show? It's called 1883. So just saying. Let's see here. Daniel Russell says, by the way, enjoyed last week with Kelly Jones. That was a terrific interview. He was not only informative, but he was also inspirational. The way he approached his art and the way he made his professional decisions was really inspiring. So now, when Benjamin Lee says, I grew up eating Chinese food, but when I went to my friends' homes, they eat American food, which consists of gravy on mashed potatoes, corn, roast beef. Ick. What? Ick? Are you kidding me? Couldn't get used to that kind of food. And when my friend came to my house to enjoy dinner, he couldn't get used to our Chinese dishes. Well, I'll tell you what, I've gotten used to both. I love Chinese food and I love the old, high calorie American staples. So yeah, there is some truth to that. That's why I quit playing chess. I fell asleep. Well, see, Lewis doesn't have the right answer. I can't believe it, but I don't think I did. I think you're just being mean. Let's see here. Shadowhawk Bax is here. Matthew Lawrence says apples are magic, and I agree. Citizen Ronan, loving the interview with Kelly Jones. Thank you so much. Mustache Man Gray says, hail, Aaron. Hey, bros. Hail back to you. Thank you for joining us. That would be kind of trippy, wouldn't it? Well, you know, Kelly, along with Dale Keown, both said they'd come back on and draw. So next time I have either one of them on, it'll be for drawing purposes. So that'll even be like way better. See, look at that. Dan was directly inspired by that Jones interview to do my Kent Menace illustration this week. You know, sometimes when you've been doing it a while, you need that little jolt of inspiration. You know, a lot of times I'd go to my Frazetta books or Wrightson books to see something really cool and go, I got to be creative. But I was really, that wasn't it. He really inspired me. He really did. I was just amazed at some of the answers and the attitude he had towards what he was doing. That was really great. True. Not going to argue with that. I don't know Sam at all. Like at all. I've never even met him. So, and I haven't really come across him in social media, but I'm going to try and get more guys on to do interviews like that because I find it really fascinating talking to other artists. So we'll see what I can do. I don't know if Sam Keith would even be open to something like that. See, Louis Bryce Raven, not to be had. He doesn't ever want to be tasked and not be able to come up with the answer. So he looked it up at its House of Mystery 211. I'm trying to remember what the cover of that is. I think I have that. Hi, Aaron. What are your thoughts on the NFL? Who are you rooting for? I just watch because I like good games. I maybe kind of rooting for the Bengals, I think, because they've been out for so long. I'm a college football guy, so I don't really have an NFL team. I just sort of watch for recreation. You know, that's an interesting thing because I might try and do that because Stephen Platt, someone posted some recent artwork of Stephen Platt's, and it was really, really good. When he started out in the 90s in Image, his drawing, he did a lot of detail and stuff, but his drawing wasn't all there. But I was really impressed with what I saw. So he might be a guy that would be cool to have. Yeah. Excuse me. I don't really know that many writers. That's my problem. Or at least ones that would come on my show now. That's for sure. Okay. So let's do Precious Moments and then get into the meat of the show. And then we're going to have a special announcement after that. So all sorts of good things coming up. So let's take a look at some precious moments from yesteryear.
Stay close to the candles. The staircase can be treacherous.
I'm eating applesauce. I love that movie. I love that movie so much. I could literally just put every scene up one week after the other. It was so good. And that applesauce is so good. So I wonder if I would love that movie, Young Frankenstein, as much as if it wasn't a monster movie, you know, or a parody of a monster movie. Because I love Blazing Saddles, but I think Young Frankenstein is a much smarter film. I think Blazing Saddles is more acerbic, maybe more culturally pointed, but more slapstick at the same time, where I find Young Frankenstein to be a little bit more clever. But it's also Young Frankenstein. It has Frankenstein in the title, so therefore, you know, I'm already in. So yeah, Barry is a very, I've never met Barry Smith, but I've heard very interesting stories about him. So I don't know that he's a guy I could wrangle either. Statistical Zero finally got his way in here. Where's Sequential Treasures? Where indeed? We'll find out soon enough, I think. Let's see here. Darth Josh. He's in the house. Used to live in Oregon. Now is in Minnesota because he had to go back there and take care of his folks. I think that's quite commendable. I still haven't got a hold of that. I got to pick that up and read it. I'm terrible. I'm terrible about that. Yeah, I could get Chuck on. Chuck would come on. I should get Chuck. Thing is, you start, recycling the same old guys. Chuck's been on several other guys' shows. Of course, nobody interviews like me. No one gets to the heart of the matter like I do. So, yeah, I should bring on Chuck. I got some guys I'm looking at. So, well, thank you very much, JD Hybrid X. I appreciate that very, very much. Matthew Lawrence is backing it up saying, hey, Monsters was such an amazing book. All right, guys, let's get to the meat of this, okay? One of the things that gets my goat about myself is when I look back, and we all have these stories about stuff like, oh, I had a chance to buy this. Why didn't I buy it? Or why did I sell that? I had this and I sold it. So we're going to take what is basically some painful memories for me and kind of look at some of the mistakes I've made in my life concerning comics and art. So I'm going to start off with the big one. Okay. Well, actually, they're all painful, big, but this is the first one. Journey back with me, if you will, to San Diego, Comic-Con, 1988, maybe 89. I've come to the show. I think I've got $100 to spend, right? I walk by this dealer. Now he has this book in near mint condition, right? He's asking $95 for it. That would have taken all the money I had to the show. And I was still, at that time, I was still kind of like, I'd rather get more for my money and less quality and more just junk to fill out my collection. So this guy has a near mint copy of this. He wanted $95 for it. Now, anybody who knows this book is in near mint is about 15 grand right now, if not more. So, but I was outraged. I wanted the book because I collected Spider-Man. I needed the book, but it was only worth, I think, $75 according to the guide. I was like, this guy wants $20 over guide for this book. I'm not going to pay it. I mean, I was just being, this sort of tight, frugal little idiot. And so what I ended up doing was I bought a lower grade copy of this, like in maybe fine condition, and then picked up like a Avengers 93, but it had a subscription crease in it. It was like completely uncollectible. And then a Green Lantern, Green Arrow 76 and probably fine VF. That's what I used my $100 on, right? To get those books. And just like a moron, if I just, it's like, dude, if I had just sucked it up and had a little bit of foresight, I would have got this for $95 and I could have sold it right now for 14 grand if I wanted to sell it or just hang on to it till it continues to go up. It's tragic. Tragic, I tell you. So that was the first bummer. That's the one that my son always brings up and kind of rubs in my face. Like, how could you not have gotten that book? I was like, all right. All right, now this one is a little bit more of a pipe dream. I could have done it probably, but it would have been painful. All right, so here it is. Now this, actually, Darth Josh just corrected me. He says he moved to Kentucky. Sorry, Darth, but he is in Kentucky now, no longer in Oregon. Okay, so this was a page that Wrights and did for a proposed Frankenstein comic for either a, it says down here it was a French comics publisher. I thought it was an Italian one, but I guess it doesn't really matter. Now, the interesting thing about this is not the whole page. There's another row of panels on this page, and it was oversized, like 14 by 18, or it might have even been bigger than that. Might have been like 24 by something, right? Guy had it, and this was San Diego, mid 90s. So I didn't have a lot of money, but he wanted $2,500 for it. And you can imagine this page is probably 20 grand now. And I would have had to do some finagling. And it's easy to say this, 25 years later that, oh, I should have been stupid and spent the 2,500, charged it or whatever when I really didn't have the money. And I was married and did have kids. So it was like, but still, if you look back and think, man, I could have had this page. And when you add the other panels that aren't even on this, and I don't know why they didn't, I can't find a replica of the entire page except in a look back. I think it's in there, which I don't have anymore, but I used to. I mean, it's just freaking awesome. And it was just huge. I mean, it was just huge. And I was just trying to figure out how in the world I could possibly buy it. And I was unable to talk myself into it. And that, again, it was a ton of money back then. But, in hindsight, you'd be thinking it'd have been money well spent. Okay, now here's one that really ticks me off. Because this I could have had. Now, this is a Nestor Redondo Swamp Thing page, okay, from Swamp Thing 19. Okay, for those of you who don't know, Nestor Redondo took over for Wrightson on Swamp Thing and did a tremendous job on the book. Really did great work, but it wasn't Wrightson, so it always gets overlooked. This was on eBay for $150. $150. I saw it and I was like, I'm buying that. So I watched it, or it was up for auction, right? I said, I'm watching, I'm going to get this. Well, it was one of those things where this was when I was in Florida at CrossGen. I got distracted. Again, I had little kids at the time. So here I'm making excuses for myself. It's one of those auctions that I was watching and then I forgot about and then went and checked and I had missed the end of it and it went for $150. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? I mean, that page is probably, it's not a huge deal. It's probably like $1,000 page now or something. I don't know, but $150. Statistical Zero is like, is this the hat we wear when we are depressed? Yeah. Jimmy Owens is joining us. Thank you, Jimmy. Appreciate it. There you go. How to draw comics in Marvel way for $8. I had an original hardback, and then for some reason I didn't have it, and I had to rebuy it. But I bought a beat up copy, but I didn't care because mine was beat up anyway. Oh man, he's right. He's right. Aaron, go big or go home. Peter Parker had to take the bus back to New York. Absolutely. Sometimes you're the windshield. Sometimes you're the bug. I know. Regret is a horrible thing, and I have way too much of it. Okay, let's look at some more stuff that'll make me sick. All right, this is a really sickening one. Okay, now it wasn't this specific page, but I was in Chicago, 94. Sludge was just on the ending. I was just ending Sludge, my run on Sludge. And it cost me $500 to go to Chicago, right? And I mean, that's not much now, but then it's a ton. So I had $500 for airfare and hotel and food, right? That was my trip. I'm walking around, and that's all I made. I made like $575 the entire show, right? And so I'm walking around. Some dealer has a stack. I'm not kidding. A stack probably this high of original EC pages. And one of the pages was a opening, not a splash page, but the opening title page with the old witch on it from EC, from the Haunt of Fear, and I didn't get it. $500. I sat there and I thought about it. It would have taken every penny I made, and then I would have been like, $500+ in debt. So again, being responsible, I didn't get it. And you can imagine something like this would probably be 10 to 20 grand right now. Ugh, the pain and suffering. Well, as let me wrap this up pretty quickly. We have someone in the green room. I will bring him on in a second. We're going to give a little announcement to make. But I have a couple more issues of pain I want to go through before I bring him on. So hang tight. Now, this isn't horrible, but I was at a Houston con, and Bedrock City had this. And I'm friends with the dudes at Bedrock City. And this is a Frazetta Buck Rogers cover. This is one of my favorites. And I would have purchased this, but again, it was a money issue. It was like, I think they wanted maybe $1,000 for it, 800,000, somewhere in that neighborhood. And it was just, a lot of times I go to shows to make money, not to spend money, at least not to spend all the money I make. Now I would have a totally different attitude, but then, I wanted to come home with some money and not a comic book. So I can go, hey, Shelley, look at the money I made, instead of, hey, Shelley, look what I bought. So this book now, in the condition I was looking at, was probably about a 6.5. It's probably about a $3,000 book right now. So, and I want it. I really want this book. And so now if I am going to get it, it's going to cost me way more if I just pulled the trigger, but I didn't. Okay. So what do I have left here? Okay, I have one more. Now, I want to be perfectly clear. I didn't own the finished painting, which you're seeing right here, but I did own the pencil drawing, okay? And the pencil drawing was very tight of the dragon. This is a Wrightson poster, by the way. It came out in 78 called Shh. In other words, Don't Wake the Sleeping Dragon, right? So it had the dudes back here with the lantern on it. It had the dragon completely drawn, a little bit of grass, and a couple of the trees in pencil. And it was oversized. I bought this from Mitch Ikowitz for $650 back in 93, the pencil drawing. And I held on to it forever. I eventually sold it for $2,500. So I didn't it's not like I took a bath on it, but it was like Shelley had just gone on some disability from work. And so I wasn't sure about where our finances were going to be. And so I thought, I got to get some money in the bank. So I sold it. And now, of course, I'm sitting there going, oh, but last I saw, Scott Williams, the inker, owned this, but I just went to his gallery page because I was looking for a nice shot of it, the pencil, and it's not up there anymore. So I don't know, maybe he sold it and traded it. These things move around a lot, but man, I would love to have that painting. I think Albert Moy had it last I saw, and wanted 20 grand or something for that finished painting. So I'd have to hit the jackpot really big to get that. But that's one of my favorite Wrightson pieces because I ripped this off, and I ripped off that dragon so many times when I was a kid. So there's that. All right. Now I'm going to bring in somebody who is an art dealer, because we're going to take a look at two pieces of mine that I sold that I wish I'd kept. But I'm going to bring in my guest here. Everybody in the audience was saying, where's Sequential Treasures? Where's Sequential Treasures? Well, ladies and gentlemen, Sequential Treasure. See, I did it again. Sequential Treasure is right here. Welcome, Mr. Sequential.
Konnichiwa, everybody.
Now, you're probably saying, why do I have this crazy dude on my show? Well, we'll get to that in a minute, but you are an art dealer. Is that not correct, Mr. Sequential Treasure?
Art rep. I sell on behalf of several artists. They send me stuff and I sell it for them, but I do have to be knowledgeable about the market, so yes.
Okay. Now I want to show you a couple pieces that I sold of mine.
Okay.
That kind of ticked me off. I don't have a ton of them, because you draw to sell to make money. That's part of the gig, but you're trying to hang on to a couple pieces. Now, this one I regret letting go of. This is from Lord Pumpkin Zero, which came out from the Ultraverse.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about this page was there was about 5 or 6 pages in this book that I had to ink myself because Gary Martin was inking it, but we got behind or something happened. And so I got to ink a few of the pages. And of course, the splash page was one of the ones that I inked myself. And you can obviously see the huge rights and influence going on there.
Obviously.
And I didn't want to sell this, but it was at one of those periods in my life where I was in between jobs for a couple of months, and I had to get rid of some rights and originals, which also pained me. But this is one I would have really liked to have kept, but it's floating around out there someplace. Maybe I'll rebuy it someday if whoever has it isn't too uptight about his pricing.
Well, that's something you got to watch out for with collectors today. They're much more savvy than they were in the past. And they're a lot more, inflexible as far as price. I mean, some of the prices I see people asking for, so I'm looking at that going like, you really expect to get that much? Really? You think someone's going to pay that much? And then half the time they do, and you're just like, really?
Yeah, there's one guy out there willing to pay that much. So that is. I've got some people asking about Shelley again. Shelley has COVID. She's on day 7 today or day 8, and she's getting better slowly, but she's zonked out right now. So I didn't want to.
Well, in honor of Showtime's being laid up, I'm going to cover for her here. This is my snack time right here.
Did you see what I brought? I got applesauce, unsweetened applesauce.
I almost feel bad having this, knowing that you're going on a diet. So it's like, should I bring it out and tease Aaron with chocolate? Should I do that?
Do it. I deserve it. But there's a lot of well wishes out there, and thank you. And I'll pass those on to her, obviously. Okay.
Yeah, but I know how you feel about the whole thing about when you wanted to buy something. Like, yeah, should I buy it and tell the wife, look at what I bought, or should I come back home and look at all the money I made? But see, I got around that by marrying a woman who's into comics too. So it's like whenever I buy it, it's like, you know how it is. And she's like,
exactly. I got this for us. Well, the thing that I had at the time, a lot of these things I didn't, other than the Amazing Spider-Man 14, I was single and had no excuse for that. But that was just poor decision. But the other ones,
no, that's not poor decision. That is a reader decision. See, I did the same thing, going to shows or going to to shops. You see here's a copy. It's in cherry condition for like $25, and here's one that's a little beat up, but it's $5. Let me get the $5 copy so I can read it, and I got $20 more to get more comics.
Right, that's what I was thinking, but that's not a smart collector's way of thinking.
Well, that's because we were collectors at the time. We were readers. We loved the work. We loved the stories.
That's true. I hadn't transitioned. Transitioned yet. So, but the other things were, I was married and had at least one little kid, and in some cases 2 little kids. And you start thinking, if I drop $1,000 on this, or I drop $2,000 on this, that's money that could be going, to the kids and for other things that you need. And it's kind of like, Shelley's a lot more understanding now about me doing that, because I mean, for crying out loud, I spent $1,800 on Avengers #4 just a couple of years ago at a show.
Your son just got married, for God's sakes. I mean, how long you got to have the umbilical cord going on there?
Dude, he's an engineer. He makes more money than I do, so I don't have to worry about him. But my daughter's still in college, so we still are wrestling, with that. But Shelley's a lot more agreeable to me dropping some cash on stuff than she probably would have been when we had 2 little ones at home, and we're trying to make ends meet. Yeah, we can't eat this week, but check out this Wrightson I have,
That's right. So, Wrightson, it's what's for dinner.
I know. Well, and I've told this story before, but it's so perfect, though. I met this movie poster collector that just is big time. He has a book called Graven Images that has his entire collection in it. And I met him he has a shop on Hollywood Boulevard still. And he has like the Mummy movie poster, the Boris Karloff one that's worth like $1 million. And he has and he told me this story. I was talking to him. He and his wife were both teachers, right? It was like 1977, 78. And you can imagine they weren't making a lot of money back then. And teachers still don't make a lot of money, but right across the street from where he's at right now is Larry Edmunds' bookstore, which is a very famous movie collectibles shop there in Hollywood. And in the window, they just put up a Frankenstein one sheet, an original Frankenstein one sheet. And he said he knew that was going to be worth a fortune someday, which of course it is, right?
Of course.
But they wanted, oh, let me see, how much did they want now? Was it like 1,500, 1,200, 1,500, something like that. Back in 1978, that's a lot of money. So he didn't have it.
That's some long game speculation right there.
Yeah, but he somehow he knew. He said he knew that he couldn't pass it up. So he talked to his wife, and she was cool with it, which was like I couldn't believe that to begin with. And then he said he had to borrow the money from like one of these loan shark places on Hollywood Boulevard at like 30% interest or whatever.
Nice.
So he got the money, bought the poster, and then he said he just worked his butt off to pay off this $1,500 that he borrowed. And so that really made me feel horrible after he told me that story. I'm like, yes, I should have been that guy. I should have been the guy.
When you're going to loan sharks to get your fix for your comic art or your comic collection, I think that's a point where you say like that's where it becomes a problem when you're dealing with loan sharks. Yeah,
but now he has a collection that's worth millions of dollars just hanging on his wall in his house. It's just amazing.
Lucky man.
Yep. Look at this.
Just messing. Yeah, there you go. Feed the soul first. There you go.
That's right.
There you go. No, but I have the regrets too. I have just pieces I've sold that I wish I still had, and I don't have them anymore. I had a page from Marvel Comics Presents number 8, the Wolverine story by Buscema and Jansen, and it was for the first appearance of him in that black ninja outfit that he wore.
Oh right, yeah.
And even in the page, there's a panel where he pops out the claws and you see Schnicked on there. It's like the perfect Wolverine page with that first appearance in that costume, and I sold it away, and I
know the regret. It's just it's like this.
It eats at you. Like, oh, why did I do that? Why? And then my other one is my Wild Dog splash page from issue number 1 of the original miniseries. First appearance of Wild Dog. I love the character, even though he's just a Punisher knockoff. I still liked him. Great character. I actually have an idea for a miniseries to bring him back. But it's another one I sold off at a time when, like you, I just needed some money, and it's like I don't want to do it, but I need it, and then now I'm like, oh man, why did I sell it?
Well, now this is the cover to Xena Zero. It was the first Xena project I did for Topps, and the interesting thing about Xena was I was aware of the character, but that was about it. I'd never watched the show, and Renee Witterstatter, who I worked for at Marvel initially when I broke into comics, she had moved over to Topps, and I think I had I don't know where I was at, but again, I was in between Marvel and DC gigs, not sure what I was going to do, and, contacted her, and she's like, hey, you want to do some Xena stuff? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And so I had to like binge watch the show, and they didn't have this is the 90s, right? They didn't have 25 episodes back to back to back, but you'd go on.
Yeah, there was no streaming service to stream it all. No.
Right. But it was like they'd show like a couple reruns every Saturday and Sunday or whatever. So I would just like watch it whenever it was on and just, get as much information as I could about the character. And the interesting thing about this cover was that I couldn't get her face right. I just couldn't get her face right. And I was in the studio with Studiosaurus back in the 90s. With Matt Haley, Terry Dodson, and many others. And Haley was pretty good at likenesses. So I actually had him work the face over once. And then after he did it, I went back and touch dip over what he did and then inked it and got a decent enough likeness. So that's actually Matt Haley actually contributed to her face as well. But the zombies and everything, I just thought it was a really cool cover. And I did sell it for a decent amount of money at the time I sold it, but I really kind of wish I had it back. In fact, I've seen this up for sale on Comic Art Fans, but I have a really hard time spending money on my own art just to get it back.
It's funny. I just tried for a piece on eBay. It went a little higher than I wanted to go from your What the Days.
I still have some of that stuff. I traded.
This one was Star Trash.
Oh,
the Star Trek parody. It's at the splash page. They're hitting Santa Claus out in space. I mean, it's just hilarious. You got the characters. What is it from? What show is it? They're all hanging on the edge of the wing of the Enterprise. It's hilarious. I thought, I got to get this, and then just zoomed up too quick. I'm like, yeah, I can't go that high. Sorry.
Wait a minute. That page. How much did it go for?
Well, right now it's like around $350. I'm like, yeah, I can't go that high right now. I'm a little low on funds. I don't have enough money to go crazy.
Where's it at? Who's
It's
got
on
it?
eBay, right? It's on eBay right now. It ends tomorrow.
Okay, I'll check that out. The funny thing is, I was at a Portland show, and I'm obviously I'm a big comic book collector, so there was a dealer that I knew from someplace up in Washington, and his wife loved What The, right? And I just thought the pages were just throwaway stuff, right? It's like, who's going to want this stuff? And she picked through and took like, a couple $100 or $300 worth of $400, whatever it was worth of pages. And she said, yeah, just take whatever you want from the store. Her husband was thrilled. So I got like, a Submariner #1. I got a bunch of Neil Adams X-Men and Buscema Avengers and things like that, to fill out my collection.
Oh, this is a great deal for me.
Yeah. So, I mean, I actually got some good books that I still have from that deal, but I don't think I have the Star Trek was the first comic I ever colored was that Star Trek story. And that was the good old days where we take Xerox copies and use like markers or whatever to color it in. And then you assign a printer color number, swatch color number to it in the margins.
Yeah.
And so all these numbers.
All the Marvel characters were playing the characters on the show. You had like Namor was playing Spock. You had Wolverine was playing Scotty. You had Bushman as Kirk.
That's right. And Doctor Strange was Dr. McCoy. And Thanos was in it.
Yeah.
So, and who, I guess, Storm was Uhura.
Yep.
So, yeah, we had, that was, now I'm getting nostalgic. I'll have to go back and look at that story now. Cause I mean, that was really super early in my career.
Well, the sad thing is the Marvel of today could never do that book. They for one, worry about copyright infringements and all that stuff for one, and then for another, you got the whole thing. They're just not fun anymore. They don't know they wouldn't know how to do a book like that anymore. Making fun of themselves, making fun of stuff like that. They can't do it. They don't have the ability to laugh at themselves that they used to have back in those days.
Yeah, and they were worried because I did the cover for that comic as well. That was my first cover. I did a couple of back covers for but that was the first front cover I did. And I wanted to do have Kirk on the cover, and they were like, and I said, look at you guys. I said, parodies are copyright protected. You're not going to get sued, but they didn't want to take the chance, So I think Kirk appears in the comic, but he's tied up in his. He does.
He's tied up on a page in Bushman's cabin. Yes,
that's right. That's right. In the captain's cabin, he has Kirk tied up and gagged in there.
Well, like I said, it's just the way it was. Like back then, they wouldn't take it so seriously, and now they do. They take it very serious. Like I remember in your days of CrossGen, before you came over, they were doing the book Mystic, and they had this one scene in issue 15 where Giselle is in this bar. And of course, in the bar is all these characters in the background who are all magical and mystical. You got the Spectre, you got Harry Potter, you got the Seven Dwarfs, you got all the Doctor Strange and Clea. They're all in the background. If you just look through the page, you're like, oh, there they are, and you're thinking, there's nothing wrong with this. I even wrote a letter about that issue and said, I hope you guys don't get sued by Disney or somebody because of all that stuff in there. And like, it's okay. They're not going to get off. We didn't do anything bad with them. Like we're showing them having butt sex or something. It's nothing going to damage their brand. They're just hanging out. It's no big deal. And then years later, Disney sued them over it. And it's just like, oh, there you go. You can't, it's sad, but it's the world we're in now.
Yeah. Let's see. Old man says, I worked for an elderly couple who bought land in the 60s and went into debt. The land is now worth millions and they're very well off. See, I think that's the thing. If you invest in the right thing, going into debt can be a good thing. But if you invest in the wrong thing, it's not a good idea. It's going to
be the right thing. That's the thing. Is that just like with that guy with buying your stuff that he got for those comics, it's like, you had, or the guy with the rights in peace, going to a loan shark, you had no guarantees that was going to turn out that way.
That's true. But
if it went the other way, you'd be in serious problems.
That's true. What about
And
the guy
trust
who
me,
sold his
trust me,
DC collection?
I don't want serious problems with my wife. When your wife is the powerlifting champ of the state of in their age bracket, you just don't want to get into problems with that.
Yeah,
That's
you
a
don't want to
little
bend
too
you
deep.
in half.
That's right.
What about the guy who sold his DC collection a year or two ago? He had every issue, is what was reported. Well, it depends on what condition it was in. If it was high grade, he probably made a mint on it.
Yeah.
Well, right now,
Well, I did that back in 2010. I had this collection I had been building since, I've really seriously got into comics back in 1987. All the stuff I had over 16,000 books, 60 long boxes of comics. I mean, the whole entire room of the house was just a wall of comics in boxes. And, I had to sell them for, debt reasons, of course. And I ended up getting $5,000 for it. And I had stuff from like the 60s and, the 70s, all this stuff. But the thing is all my stuff, say 80 and earlier, was in lower grade. Because again, I was the reader. I wanted to read
right,
the book. And then all the
right.
stuff that was after 80 was in higher grade. And you're like, well, yeah, that stuff's not worth so much. But all this older stuff is. But yeah, yours isn't really in the grade we want. So they ended up only giving me like $5,000 for 16,000 books.
Right. Well, that's what happens. Grade is so important because those books are readily available in low grade, but obviously. So I sold I sold my Spider-Man collection, and I sold my Green Lantern Neil Adams stuff a while ago.
Out of all the stuff that I had, the one that hurt the most was selling my Spider-Man collection. I had Amazing Spider-Man from issue 19 to issue 509 complete. Everything, the annuals, the giant sizes, everything that was ever Amazing Spider-Man from that period, just all of it. And that was what hurt the most when I sold it. I was like, oh man, I don't.
I had 2 and up, and but I knew I'd never get 1 or Amazing 15, so it was sitting there. I'm like, I can't add to it because I've got all the copies, right? And it's like I'm never going to get 1 or 2, so I just kind of said, you know what, I'm going to sell it. And maybe just to prove to myself that I could let go of something because I have so much junk that, but I think I paid off my truck with it. So I did something really sort of valuable and responsible with the money.
Well, that's what I did too. When I sold mine off, it was to pay off credit card debt, and it just wiped out all the debts. Like now I'm free and clear, and me and the wife were free and clear, no more credit card debt. So, and that's what I told myself at the time when I sold it. Because I said, I look back on all the money I spent building this collection up, and I'm thinking like guys who were my age at the time, what do they spend their money on? Booze and broads, and what have they got is a memory if they weren't too drunk to remember it. That's all they have. Whereas me, my comics only gave me years of entertainment, but then when it came down to it, I was able to get at least some of the money back to help take care of another problem that that they're not getting the money back for them booze and broads. I at least got some of the money back here. And so that's what I told myself when I sold it. Like it went to a better cause, and it was a good that I had it, and but it still it doesn't make it hurt that much less looking back now. It's like, yeah, but I missed it.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I came out on top of everything I sold. I got way more than what I spent on it, but still,
Oh no, I didn't. I spent way more than $5,000 building up 15,000 books.
Stat Zero says, what the number 2? John Byrne was my first comic. Okay, here's a little story for you. So I'm at Marvel, slumming around. See, what I did when I was really young trying to break in is I got in good with the secretary at Marvel, and she, when I would come in, she would buzz me in without an appointment. You got all these people like sitting in there, waiting for an editor to come out and look at their portfolio, and I'd come in and say, can you buzz me in? And she'd buzz me in, and super nice lady. And so I would be in there just walking around, right? And Terry Kavanaugh, I had met at San Diego, showed him some samples. And so I'd always go and buzz his office. I think he really got irritated that I would just like show up. It's like, how do you keep getting in here? But I was there one time, and he had, I had actually done my first Forbish Man story, which was in, I want to say What the Six. I'm not 100% sure that's accurate. It might've been later than that. But anyway, he did this cover of Forbish Man as a real superhero with a gun, and he's like, blasting away.
Issue 8. That's issue 8.
Okay. And what I had done initially was I gave Forbish Man like superhero boots and gloves. I said, let's jazz him up a little bit. And of course, they said, no, he's got to be in long underwear and he's got to look like he did. And I said, all right. But Byrne did his cover based on my story. So he drew him with these gloves on. this, heroic
Yeah.
Forbish man character. And so the editor comes to me and I heard him talking on the phone, right? Because I was just eavesdropping right out in the hall. And so I after he's done, I go, Terry, I can fix that right now for you. And he's like, really? I said, yeah. So he gives me Byrne's original art, right? I go in with whiteout and a brush and take out the gloves and give him a hairy forearm, right? So on that cover, which is Byrne art, actually has some of my very first work on it. Because I touched up his forearm to get rid of the gloves. So there you go. Just because I happen to be.
I remember that cover. He's like got a girl in his one arm, and he's got a gun in the other or something. It's just like he's like this big like Punisher style looking hero type thing. I remember that cover.
See, I am the ladies' man. You got to know how to charm them, man. You got to know how to charm them. She was much older than me, but still. In fact, Shelley and this is a Shelley Showtime story.
Wait, was she on a cougar hunt with you? Is that what you're saying?
No. Well, actually, I don't know, because she had her son was like in high school or something, but I think she was a single mother. But Shelley and I were there, and this is after I'd really established this relationship with this. I can't think of her name. She passed away from cancer, unfortunately, about 20 years ago, but really sweet lady. But Shelley and I went to the World Trade Center when it was still there. And we went and got like hamburgers at this like hole in the wall place. Right. So after we ate, or like, I gotta go over to Marvel. I had to go to DC and go to Marvel. And so I headed over to Marvel first. And we got on the subway and we're heading to Marvel. And she's like, I don't feel too good. And so this hamburger was just, I guess the grease quotient was like way too high. So she's barfing in a trash can in the subway, right? You're just like, you're standing around going, no, she's not homeless. She's with me. But she's just like, and so she finally is like, okay, I'm all right. We get on the train, we get to Marvel. And so we're sitting there waiting. I actually had an appointment with somebody. And so we're waiting for them to come out and get me. And Shelley's like, I'm not going to make it. I got to get in the bathroom. And so I had the secretary buzzed her in, and she ran in the Marvel offices and went in and chucked up again in the Marvel offices. But she made it to the bathroom before she did. So.
Well, that's how you know it's real love. When you puke in front of somebody and you stay with them, that's true love right there.
Yeah, because I think we were engaged. I don't think we were married at that point. I think we were just engaged. But it was so funny because she's just like and running through the, out through the hall. I can see her racing to the bathroom down there, and we're just kind of going, oh man. So I remember.
I'm sure she's gonna love watching this stream, having you tell that story.
She didn't even go with me to DC. She went back to the hotel and was like, I'm done, and said, okay. So I went to DC after my Marvel visit. I went to DC and had lunch with Frank Pitteries, who was one of the editors I was getting some work from at that time. And we actually went out to lunch. And I was like, oh, Shelley should be here. Yeah, well, anyway.
Not so much. Not so
yeah,
much.
It was cheaper for DC because they bought lunch for me, of course. And Shelley wasn't there, so they didn't have to buy her.
Well, she just would have given it back to him anyway.
That's right. Yeah. Oh man! Now I know why Byrne doesn't like you. You touched his art without his permission. Now Byrne and I'm not saying that Byrne and I mean, if you asked him, he probably doesn't even know who I am anymore. But we got into a discussion over dinner once that he kind of got under my skin. That was back when I was more confrontational, Aaron. Now I'm sort of, leave me alone, Aaron. But back then I was, a little younger, a little more feisty. And then we had another encounter at a Portland show where we were just kind of, ribbing each other. But I don't think there was any sort of real evil, content behind it. But those are the only two interactions I've ever had with John Byrne.
That's funny. It reminds me of the Rick Jones bachelor party of the Hulk number 417. There's this one shot, the overshot of everybody who's there for the bachelor party. And if you look in the panel, you got Iron Man on one side of the room, and directly across is War Machine, and they're staring at each other from across the room because they hated each other at the time. That was hilarious. Those little things that it said, Peter David included that just to stick it to the Iron Man guys, and it's just that's hilarious. He threw that in. But yeah, it's funny. No, but so you wanna get into to tell people why I'm here tonight?
Yeah, let's do that, because I gotta wrap this up and get rolling because I got work to do. But so let's go ahead and let me say this. Let me say this first. So Sequential Treasures gets in touch with me and asked me if I'd be interested in doing something, and I said, "Well, what did you have in mind?" And that sort of became this. So go ahead and.
Well, what it became is I asked Aaron if he would be interested in doing a live stream with me on a monthly basis, once a month, where we would each take a piece of our art from our personal collections and spotlight them on here and talk about them. And we would each talk about both our piece and the other person's piece. And to make it more of a more well-rounded show, we'll do a couple little bits on the beginning and the end. And so like at the start, we'll do our little warm-up sketch where we'll talk about a topic. It's nothing heavy. We're not going to talk philosophy or religion or anything, just something light and fun, sort of to get everybody, in the mood for some good times. Then we'll talk about our art, and then we'll end it with what we call con stories, where, I've done more than a few shows. I know Aaron has done a few shows. So we've all got crazy stories of stuff that's happened to us. And so we figured we could let you guys in on some of that. And it's a little fun thing for all you guys out there, because, me, again, as someone who's not only selling art, but has been an aficionado for quite a while. And I'm like, there's nobody really talking about comic art on any live streams. You talk about comics, you talk about the culture, you talk about, the politics and all the other brouhaha of the day or whatever, but you don't see people talking about the art itself very much. And I saw Aaron on a few of his streams actually bring out a piece of his from his collection and show us. I'm like, why isn't somebody doing this? And really the progenitor of all this is someone who's in our chat right now, Dan Lawless, who told me that I should do this on my YouTube channel. But it's like, I've got like 84 subscribers. Who's going to be watching? So I'm like, it's like, that's not really going to be conducive to anything. I'm going to be doing a live stream showing art that nobody's going to be looking at. Kind of worthless right there. So, but I figured doing it this way was even better because, not only do we have, more than one piece being shown, but we get, Aaron, who is an insider in the industry, he's an artist, his perspective, and then you get the outsider's perspective from me, something, so you can kind of get a contrast of what people think of a specific piece of art. And I thought that was much more interesting and a lot more fun. And so that's what we're going to be doing, guys, starting this coming Saturday. We decided that the end of the month, the last Saturday of every month, will be Comic Art Convos. And that's what we're going to do on Aaron's channel here. We're just going to have a live stream with me and him, having fun, talking some stories and showing off great art just for you guys. Again, this is just for fun, guys. We're not looking to change the world or, anything like that. Just we're here to have some fun and talk some comic art, because I know Aaron said he loves talking art and he doesn't get to do it as much as he would like. And well, here's an outlet for him, and it's a little something for me to have some fun with it too. And that's right, the plan, guys.
So that's Comic Art Convo, and that'll be premiering 4 p.m. Pacific time this coming Saturday. We'll do it, like you said, once a month at the end of every month, and so we'll. I'm sure his collection may be a little bigger than mine.
The only thing we haven't yet decided on is we're not sure if we're going to do just all published art or if we're going to also include illustrations that are unpublished, because we both have both. So I would thought, why don't we throw it out to the chat? And I've got a little pad down here to take notes. And if the chat wants us to do just published works, hit 1 in the chat. And if you want to see us do a mix of either published or unpublished illustration stuff, hit 2. And then, let democracy reign.
So you're basically talking about sketches or something like that. Maybe
sketches or like illustration pieces, just stuff that wasn't published, just so that we know, just so we know what people want. Give the people what they want. Oh, okay. I'm seeing they're starting to come in already. Excuse me. So just hit 1 or 2 in the chat, guys. If you want just published, hit 1. If you want a mix, hit 2. And democracy reigns. But please, we ask you only vote once. This is not the 2020 presidential election. Please vote only once.
And that's our political comment for today's show. Oh. It's nothing but 2s, man.
Yeah, it seems
People
like it.
like
Wow.
people like to see those sketches because that's the stuff that you don't get to see very often is out of people's personal collection.
No, that's true. That's true. But what I've found is like sometimes when you get the regular published stuff and you see the published version where it's in color, you see stuff in the black and white you missed in the color version because maybe the color
True.
washed it out, or maybe the color overpowered and you weren't noticing those little fine details because of the color. And because it's in black and white, it's like, wow, I never noticed that before.
That's a good point. But I think we can never show enough art. So
Well,
I
it looks
vote
like,
two.
well,
I vote two.
judging by the chat here, they seem to agree with you, Aaron. It's all twos. I haven't seen a single one yet. So I guess the people have spoken. It will be a mix, folks. We'll do published, we'll do unpublished, whatever we feel like showcasing that month. So
there you go. All right, man. Well, there you have it. That's about all I've got planned for this stream. I've got a Wraith of God sitting there on the drawing table waiting to get worked on, begging me.
And a wife you need to baby because, you know.
That's right. Well, she's probably going to be waking up from her nap here pretty soon and is going to want some food. So I'm going to have to take care of that. Anyway, Sequential Treasure, thank you for joining me. And we're really excited. We're going to, branch off and do this.
Looking forward to next Saturday. I'm looking forward to it. I'm very excited about this.
So you guys remember that, mark it on your calendars. And remember to hit like and subscribe if you hadn't on this channel. And also remember that Wraith of God, we're only $500 away from $120,000, which gives us the next stretch goal, which is the Ace of Spades playing card, which you're going to want to do because that's going to hit me in the pocketbook pretty hard. So it's your way to get a little revenge. So back to campaign.
Don't forget, folks, if you don't back Wraith of God, you're a knucklehead. And you don't want to be a knucklehead.
That's right. I think we've already established that. So anyway, guys, have a great weekend. Enjoy the rest of the playoffs and enjoy your week ahead. And we'll keep you updated on Shelley's condition, although I think she's turning the corner and starting to feel better. But
and I'll see all you guys this coming Saturday.
There you have it. So everybody, thank you for joining us. Take care and enjoy the rest of your week.